This program is brought to you as a public service by Maui Causes. Maui Causes is a crowd-funded media production group that provides media production services to a variety of environmental and progressive causes here in Maui County. Visit us on the web at www.mauicauses.org. Welcome to another edition of Maui Causes Citizens Initiative television show here on Akaku. I'm Sam Small, joined in the studio by our producer Todd Swan and Sleepy John on cameras. Thanks, guys, for your support. And thanks to Akaku for airing this program and giving an opportunity for the community to share information that just doesn't come in our local newspapers. I don't know why. Somehow there's a whole area, many areas of opinion and fact that do not get expressed, and you don't get to hear about them through the standard channels. Why is that? The standard channels cater to business interests. It's very simple. And those business interests are not your interests. Those business interests are dedicated to making as much money out of the natural resources and bountiful aspects of these Hawaiian islands. They are exploiting these interests. They've been doing it for 170 years. Through the plantation system, through the military occupation during World War II, and afterwards through a corporate structure that is no longer based on the islands. Those people running those corporations are not Hawaiians anymore. They're not locals. They are from other countries. A lot of Japanese interests, financial interests, are expressed in Maui County's political and economic system. They don't live here. They don't care about you. They don't care about your children. It's plain and simple. You can see it in all of the things that go on. There's a tremendous amount of money at stake here in these Hawaiian Islands, and on Maui especially. It's concentrated under control of just a few people, and we need to change that because your children deserve to live here. And under the present system, that can't happen. They can't afford to live here. And nothing is being done to accommodate that. We need to slow the development down and make sure that the development that does happen is appropriate to maintain the quality of life on Maui and in Maui County. It's complicated. There's a lot of issues at stake. And the county council members need to be committed to understanding and abiding by the underlying principles of preservation of the natural resources. We went through it 2 years ago with the public trust doctrine. The Shaka movement and the GM moratorium brought that whole picture to the public, and people realized for the first time, many of them, that we have a responsibility. The true kuleana is also extended to the land, to the Aina. We are responsible. And it's uniquely in our state constitution that the land, the water, the air, the reefs, the oceans have rights in and of themselves. And it's our job to protect them. And that has been ignored for decades. And because we are such a small island, such a small ecosystem, the results of that are being seen now. We see the reefs dying. We see the land, the quality of the soil being leached out. These things need to change because your children deserve a place to live here. And if we don't change them, it's not going to happen. So we have an opportunity with candidates that have come to the process for the first time who do have an understanding of that kuleana. Their culture has raised them with that understanding, and it underlies all of the decisions that they make. And we encourage you to check these candidates out. If it wasn't a kaku, I'd say vote for these candidates, but I'm not supposed to endorse anybody. We're going to present you with information, and we're going to share a little bit with two of those candidates today. So welcome to the studio. We have Keani Rawlins and Alika, two of the candidates that are running for county council. And I'm so happy to have both of you here. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. This is going to be great because both of these people have an agenda. And the agenda is to serve you and your children. And they have been doing this now for many years. Both of these people have been preparing themselves for this moment. Keani, if we could start with you, I'm just so impressed. You a recent graduate from law school with dual certificates in
Native Hawaiian law and environmental law.
And why that combination? What was your agenda there?
I pursued the two certificates because I feel that the Hawaiian community are underrepresented in a lot of, and overrepresented in a lot of critical statistics. And we need more of community members that understand the law, how it's interpreted, how to navigate the legal system, how to navigate the political system. And environmental law, because someone needs to be able to speak for the Aina. And the Aina called to me, and I went to school to get legal training so that I can help our community protect the limited land and natural resources that we have.
And when did you make this commitment? How long ago did you set off on this path?
Of law school? Or?
Yeah, and with the intention of serving the community.
I guess I grew up with role models. My family instilled the importance and the value of our reciprocal relationship between Kanaka and Aina. And it's something that I just grew up understanding, that this is something that the Aina is our ancestor. And we need to protect our ancestor like we do our grandparents, like we do our parents. And I guess I've been involved in environmental organizations from a really young age. My mom is the president of Molokai of the Molokai Canoe Club and the Molokai Canoe Racing Association. Mm-hmm. And growing up paddling, you spend time in the ocean, and it's not just your playground. It's you become one with the ocean. When we would go out, we would do cleanups. Anytime we would practice, if there was a floating plastic bag or bottles, we'd intentionally paddle over to get it, and to make sure that the ocean is being taken care of. It's being cleaned, that the marine life that live in the ocean are also being taken care of and protected. And we're the reason that a lot of that opala ends up there. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we clean up after ourselves.
And did you have your sights set on becoming political, something like, achieving education and certification and learning these issues so that you could then be of service? Was that your intention from the beginning?
I guess I was always called to serve the community. I was always involved in community service of some sort, giving back to the community. I worked in nonprofits before going to law school. The most recent nonprofit that I worked for was Mana Maoli. And Mana Maoli serviced or was a fiscal fiscally supported a charter school, Halau Kumana, which I also worked at. And in working for different nonprofits, I experienced the limitation of service that we can provide to the community. And a lot of it stemmed back to politics. There being a cap on the number of charter schools that Hawaii is allowed to have. Charter schools are amazing, especially Halau Kumana. It's a school that I wish I had an opportunity to attend. It services the children that a lot of them who have lost hope in the school system as it is, and it gives children hope. And at this school, they learn important leadership skills, real world skills, like you were talking about earlier, critical thinking, not just the curriculum that you're taught at a mainstream school, but these students are taken to the legislature and participate in politics. They meet our legislators, they get involved, and from there they become more comfortable in engaging in politics. Much more than I can say for even myself in graduating from high school. I mean, especially on Molokai, we're just geographically cut off from where a lot of the decisions take place. And so in raising my two children, I take them with me to opening day at the Ledge. I take them with me to meet the legislators. I want them to know that this is their place.
Right.
You belong here. This belongs to the people, and that they shouldn't feel uncomfortable in going there. I want them to feel comfortable in engaging and want to be involved and know that they do have a place at the table, because they do.
Well, that's Alika's fond of the statement, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Right.
And that is a very real message, and thank you for instilling that in your children and into an entire generation of young people and young Hawaiians who deserve to be empowered and have not had that in many years. So this is part of the change that is happening socially and politically, and we can, if we're careful and do it right, we can make that part of an economic system as well. Alika, you've been involved in youth movements in serving young people for decades.
Right.
Give us a little bit about some of your background there.
Well,
where do you start?
Yeah. Well, I'm, my past has allowed me to serve our community here, particularly the youth of Maui, or the young people of Maui. I've been involved with them for some 30 plus years in all realms of service, and I think where I'm sitting here today has brought me was this collective years of community serving, as a servant leader, as a coach in athletics, as a person involved in nonprofits, as a person with canoe clubs. Keani brought up her mom being the president, and she was also the head coach of Molokai High School. And we were part of the pilot program of high school canoeing, and so we in the communities of Maui, Molokai, and Lanai, for 2 years, we did a community demonstration sport of canoeing, and we had to show the state of Hawaii Department of Education that the community can do, and this sport of canoe paddling is a safe sport that could be done. And so with the demonstration sport of 2 years, then went over to being recognized as a high school athletic sport. And Keani's mom, Alika and Molokai, myself, I was involved with Baldwin High School and many others to where today, I don't know how many years now, it's been at least close to 16 years, 17 plus years, that it's now been recognized as a high school sport.
That's great.
I was a high school coach for Baldwin High School paddling for some 14, 15 years. And so it's something that came out of the community, evolved to where today is being recognized as a regular sport. It's a unique high school sport throughout the entire country. That Hawaii is one of the unique places that allows competitive outrigger canoe paddling for the students to get credit as a high school
a high school sport.
Yeah.
And that, it's not just a casual thing, folks. These kinds of initiatives have repercussions. They ripple out into the community. Because you were smart enough at the time to document, you were running kids back and forth in vans.
Yeah.
Because there was no other transportation.
Right.
And you documented the ridership of those kids. And what was the result of that? What happened with that documentation?
Well, oh God, I don't know how many years that was ago, but I guess close to 20 years ago, I had a outreach youth counseling activities, and one of the activities was I strongly felt that the youth on the mountain has a right to experience the ocean just as much as the kids from the ocean need to experience the mountain. So I was fortunate to have a program that allowed me to have after-school activities, that allowed them life skills activities after school. So I did a lot of the upcountry kids. I start from Kula, going Kinkekalike, then going to Kalama in Makawao, and cutting across to Haiku and picking up kids in Haiku and swinging over to Paia, and then cutting across island and bringing them down to Kihei to go canoe paddling.
There was a lot less traffic then.
Yeah. And we'd reverse the order going home to the point where, I used the canoe, the outrigger canoeing as an activity, but the canoe was just a magnet to attract and hold the kids on the beach. And while they were there, we were able to educate them on a lot of things, sustainability, ocean awareness, just a lot of cultural things, a lot of life skills things, social skills things, but it was just that magnet of that canoe and that experience. Later on, there was a second van that came in, and so I was able to get kids from Happy Valley, Kahikili Terrace, swing around to Hawaiian Homes in Pakukalo, and going through Kahalui and bringing them to the beach. And so we were able to bring kids together from all areas and get them to paddle in the same canoe, Some of them would come in with red shirts, some of them would come in with blue shirts. But when they jumped in the canoe, they were all the same color. So we would paddle 2 miles out and, make them swim in if they had different colored mentalities, because we all paddled in the same canoe. They all wanted to get home safe. They all wanted to work together. So they all, took their shirts off and we all paddled together. So there's a lot of interesting lessons there But anyways, going to the transportation.
The ridership is what I was
The
after,
ridership
right.
was, to get the kids, we needed, I had too many kids. We had too many kids to fit in a 15-passenger van. So through the help of the County of Maui, we were able to have the requests come through the youth centers. All the different youth centers were the sources of requests for transportation. Mm-hmm. And so the county started this youth transportation funding, getting the kids to canoe practices. And, we built the ridership up where the kids got accustomed to knowing, that, the more you use the bus, the more regular the bus will show up. And so the ridership, they understood that concept. They understood that, hey, go recruit more of your friends to get involved in paddling, and more kids would be on the bus and less stress for the parents to get them to the beach, to the point where so the parents were all excited, and on race day, they would want to transport the kids to the beach. And we told them, to the races, says, well, we need the head count.
On the bus.
On the bus to justify having a county-sponsored bus to transport the kids. And so all the kids would gather at the clubs and jump on the buses, and vice versa. We would have kids going from country, going to Lahaina,
sure,
and kids from Lahaina, west side, coming to Kahului. And there were days that I think they were transporting close to 1,000 kids on a regular basis. And I think from that experiment, that grew into what is today, is now, I wouldn't put it all on the youth transportation, but there's also senior transportation, but you combine it all, and the evolution is what we have. We now have a form of mass bus transportation on our island.
Yeah.
When there was a period where a child in Makawao had to go hitchhike to get down to the beach.
Right.
Now they are able to navigate their way.
Or to a job.
Yeah. And that's the evolution of this little involvement in the community has evolved now to becoming a daily offering of mass transportation.
Yeah, and this is what I mean, how these things ripple out. When you take action in the community from your heart and deliver services that the community really needs, it grows, it ripples out, and good things come from it. Our local mass transit system, our bus system that we have today, we can thank Alika ATAY and the people he worked with to create that system. That's what started it. And that's the kind of leadership that is available to us in this election cycle like never before. We have candidates that have stepped forward that have that understanding. They've grown up in it. It's bred into them. And they will do what needs to be done. Difficult decisions. There's a lot of very critical issues that is facing the county. And those decisions need to be made from a place of understanding, of balance. And we have not enjoyed that over the past many years. Our county council is stuck. And this is the opportunity. This election cycle is the opportunity to create real change and bring forward a younger generation who has an understanding. How's your campaigns going? What's it been like campaigning? What's the biggest lessons you've learned? The biggest surprises you've seen? I know, I can only imagine it's been very eye-opening to the process.
It has been. It also has been really enjoyable. I would say that my favorite part is getting to meet people throughout the county. Getting to meet you, Sam.
Yeah, pleasure.
People that I may not have necessarily met had I not ran for council. The challenges to running a campaign from Molokai, of course, is having to fly from Molokai to Maui on a pretty regular basis,
right.
And that also costs a lot of money. For my campaign team, which consists a lot of my family, they've never took part in a campaign before. And that was part of my goal in doing my campaign, was to build capacity. And so the eye-opener for a lot of my family members, my team, is the cost associated with running a campaign.
Right.
And so one of the things I would love to see happen is a total restructure of how campaigns are run.
District voting.
District voting is one. I would like to see more public uses of like more of a system that they have in France, where there's structures that are publicly funded. Everyone is, all candidates are given space, equal space,
right,
to put their informational flyer on it. They have equal time on the radio, equal time on TV.
Right.
That way the community has the information they need without candidates having to raise $50,000 to $100,000, which is just absurd. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous.
Well, it seems to me that it's designed, it's that way by design, in order to keep grassroots candidates who have a potential of truly representing the community, to keep them out of the race, so that the only people that can afford to be a candidate are people that are receiving corporate backing.
Exactly, which is why I think we need a restructuring. I think by not making campaigning so costly, it would open up the candidacy to a larger, more qualified pool of candidates.
Yeah.
And something that the community would definitely benefit from.
And it's something that has been proposed to our existing county council time and time again, and they refuse to take action on it. Why is that? Hawaii is, there's a national statistics and, organizations that track corruption across all of the states. And Hawaii is consistently listed as one of the most corrupt states in the nation. And that's always fascinating to me, because it's such a small community. There's so few people that are actually here and doing things. And so if we have a high level of corruption, then at any particular gathering, county council sessions or testimony, there are people in the room who are corrupt. They're sitting right next to you. And it's part of why nothing gets done, because you need a very strong political will to counter those corrupt forces. We saw it, 2 years ago in the moratorium movement, where the mayor of our county made public statements that were bold-faced lies. I've talked about it on other shows. How we would have to have a papaya police come into your backyard and confiscate your garden. How, GMO seeds in dog food are gonna sprout in your backyard, and the police are gonna have to come and inspect if the moratorium passes. Those were bold-faced lies, and he knew it at the time. He knew what he was doing. He knew that he was lying to you. Your mayor did that. That's the kind of government that we have in place. And the candidates that are running now for county council are the beginning of change for this community. There's more to our show in just a moment. This program is brought to you as a public service by Maui Causes. Maui Causes is a crowd-funded media production group that provides media production services to a variety of environmental and progressive causes here in Maui County. Visit us on the web at www.mauicauses.org. And thank you both for doing this. I know it's not easy. Alika, what kind of challenges have you seen?
Well, I mean, for me, it's I enjoy it. I enjoy the opportunity to go from one community to the next community, to see the diversity of our community throughout all of the islands, to recognize, the choice of quality of lifestyle that people who live in this county of Maui make their choice to live. And so with that, I respect that Hana lifestyle is Hana lifestyle. Molokai lifestyle is Molokai lifestyle. Lanai makes their choice. Upcountry Makawao makes their choice. Upcountry Kula has their choice.
They're very different communities.
So every community is unique and authentic, and I fully support that. We recognize that. We should recognize that, and we shouldn't make everyone be like, the same old. Yeah. However, we all live in that community, and for me, recognizing that, and I always got to wear the hat. Okay, as a county government representative, what role can I look at in playing? And for me, it's always going to be the community and the people first. It cannot be how it's been going, where those developers with money interests gets first, or corporations and their money interests is first. The decision making is not that way. It should always be who lives here. It shouldn't be people who come here to sleep here because they're running a business and they get to tell us how to live and run. No, the people who live here, this is their home. They have a say. Yeah. And so with that, we must always look at how is the health of the community? How is the education of our community and opportunities? I visit the communities, and some of the communities, they're just saying, I just want to give my children, my grandchildren, or my future generations the same opportunities or even better opportunities that we were afforded. Yeah. So that's their drive. Their drive is to give their grandchildren a better life, look for better opportunities. And so with that is, we got to watch the health of our community. We got to watch the education of our community. We got to watch the welfare of our community. And then after that, once we know aina momona and our community is fat and comfortable, then we're ready to expand, not come out here and say, we need this, and yet we have infrastructural concerns of a highway problem. I live in Hawaiian homes in Wai'ehu. Every morning, there's 1,000 cars in traffic, sitting in traffic. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there and going, now this is insanity. Doing the same thing every day and expecting a different result. What you going to get when you do nothing? Right now, I see them doing nothing to solve that traffic problem. No. So, from the county perspective, I look and says, can this problem be solved? I think it can be, I look at that. I represent the district, or the moku of Wailuku, which covers Waikapu, Wailuku, Wai'ehu, Waihe'e, all the way up to Kakaloa. And I look at that and goes, if that's my core district, and I'm sitting in traffic every morning, we need to be a part of the change that we want to see. How do we alleviate the stress? People they show up at work 30 minutes late, they're already stressed out, they're already nuha, they're already mad. How do we alleviate that and help them go through and have a better day?
We have this mechanism under the county charter of the Maui Island Plan, mm-hmm. where the community participates and develops over many years, mm-hmm. Where we want the growth and what we want to take place where, what makes sense to the people on the ground who live here.
Right.
And our county council the existing county council seems to be willing to completely ignore
Right.
the island plan.
Yeah, and I would say that the island plan allows the people to be at the table, to be a part of that process. That eventually it is, in a sense, our law. Yeah, how we envision our island to grow and what is allowed. What some people want to say is, oh, that doesn't fit us. We're going to ignore this.
It doesn't fit my particular business
Right.
interests.
Right.
I would refine that a little bit more.
I would agree with that. And so I think it's not, how it is, it's the people express their desires, and that's what people need to realize. 2 years ago, the people expressed their desires. 23,000 plus people voted and expressed their desires.
On the GM moratorium.
Right.
Yeah.
And they didn't listen to it.
Right.
And so,
in fact, our county officials, the mayor and his whole posse, have actively violated the public's trust by siding with the corporations and are in court on the side of the corporations, fighting against the community's vote.
And so with that, I say more so that we, the people who live here, must be ever so more diligent to be participating in the processes. Here you are, today we have two of us that have chosen to raise our hand and say that we want to represent the people as county council members in the community. But I would say that it doesn't stop there. I would highly encourage everyone out there who are concerned about Maui County and the future of Maui County to participate and raise your hand, to also be sitting on commissions, sitting on advisory boards, participating in all aspects of it, because if we not, they're going to find somebody to represent them. And them I'm speaking of is the big money corporate interest.
It's big money.
Yeah.
It's
and
big
so
money.
we, the grassroots people, need to be alive and aware and awakened and be there at the table participating in this process so that we can confidently say that the voice of the people has been expressed also. There's processes in there that allows us. And we just need to make sure that our people are there engaged.
And that includes, just the simple process of registering and voting.
Yes. That's the day.
Yeah.
Every 2 years, election season comes around. We have a general election so scheduled for November 8th. And on that day, all the corporations, all the money people, all the developers, they cringe because they have no power.
Right.
The power goes to the people. The power of the vote sits with the people. Here's an interesting thing that I want to share is that, yes, they're telling us vote November 8th. But do you know that close to 60% or up to 2/3 of the vote will begin on October 18. October 18 is a targeted date when all the absentee and mail-in ballots will be released. And so starting on October 18th, 60% or up to 2/3 of those who are voting will be casting their votes via mail. So we need to get everyone engaged, get everyone joined in to do the mail-in and vote for the right guys. Yeah?
And no one sees that vote. You know, when you go into the ballot box on election day and you close the curtain, nobody gets to see how you place the vote. So, you know, if your union boss is telling you that you need to vote for this person because the union says so, but that doesn't feel right, you know, you don't feel it, you know, in your belly, go ahead. Don't vote for that person that the union is telling you to vote for, because they're representing interests that go beyond your interests. They're representing interests that are related to larger corporations and big money. So, you know, if you feel it in your belly, then you vote for these candidates instead, because they're going to do what's pono and right for your children and your children's children. It's a big difference. Mm-hmm. We have that power.
I just wanted to add really quickly, because it's I didn't really see it promoted anywhere for the primaries. That mail-in absentee ballot should be mailed in by November 1st.
Right.
They need to reach, or they need to be postmarked
mm-hmm.
by November 1st.
Yeah. Right. So I know a lot of people missed.
They were late.
Yeah, and they weren't counted.
Right.
Was it over 300
mm-hmm.
of the absentee ballots for Maui County?
And the absentee ballots, I don't know if you guys know, the percentage of absentee ballots that get delivered through the mail on Maui, as opposed to being mailed to some address outside of Maui or even outside of the state, to people that are far-flung and don't see our local media.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that are getting absentee ballots, and they don't benefit from. They don't get a kaku. They don't get this. So how do they? You know, they're not really voting with any knowledge or understanding of the process. And so that's why it's particularly important for you to be talking about this in your community and with the people that you know that don't live here on the island. If you're having conversations with people that you know that are not resident here, that are voting off island, have this conversation with them. Let them know what's really going on here so that they can contribute to this process from a place of power, not just imagining that they're doing the right thing. That's important to share too. Mm-hmm. Talk about what's going on here, because it is so very, very important.
Right.
What other Boy, Molokai has such a unique set of problems, and it seems to me that one of the largest has to do with fresh water. That the water supply there is so at risk for pollution, the aquifer. Mm-hmm. What needs to be done there to protect that, and how do we do that?
I think one of the things that we need to really take a look at is the method in which we are farming. I think we really need to understand the impacts that the current farming practices are having on not just our groundwater, but also the ocean, the near shores, our fisheries, our reefs. There's massive erosion happening right now. A lot of our soil is exposed to the elements, more soil than in past few years even.
Because of the style of farming?
Yes, yeah, because of the style of farming. And I think we need to, as a community, decide if that is something that we truly want for our future. And if it's not, then we need to start investing in the kinds of farming that we would like to see. Farming that would feed us more. I mean, everyone knows the statistic, almost 90% of our goods are imported. And on Molokai, we have like 33% of our food is collected via subsistence. And so our fisheries and our wildlife, our deer that are consuming some of the produce that are now being farmed on Molokai, and it's having an adverse impact on our food.
Yeah. Well, the deer, the spotted deer, are a problem all over Lanai too. The ungulates is a real problem.
Right. Well, we eat some sort of deer at least once a week, whether it's ground deer, whether it's teriyaki style, steak style, whatever it is. A lot of us supplement the food that we eat.
You have to, with subsistence farming.
With deer, and we need to protect that which feeds us. I think we also need to start really looking at how we can become Molokai Aina Momona again. One way is looking at reforestation. We've been in a drought for how many years now? We need to be replenishing the water that we're taking. Wildfires have devastated our forest, and the forest is what brings the water.
It draws the water down.
The forest is what replenishes our aquifer. And we have the power to bring more water to our communities, and that's one way.
So it does in some ways come down to negotiating between the short-term salaries working for the agrochemical companies and the long-term viability and sustainability of the island. The corporations, of course, the leadership of those corporations, they don't live there. And that is, to me, the fundamental difference. They don't have boots on the ground. They don't have kids that are growing up in that environment. And so they don't feel the risks. It's not in them. And so it is up to the people and people like yourself to speak for the Aina and to speak for the next generations. Because the corporations sure don't care about them. By law, you have to remember, folks, by law, a corporation must put the well-being of their shareholders first. That's law. So if a corporation is controlling an entire region, they're not taking into consideration the needs of the local people, because that would adversely affect their bottom line. So it's not just some conspiracy that we come up with to say that corporate interests are not your interests. It's the way business is done. And so the particular framework of politics and economics in Hawaii, so manipulated through the plantation and military system, the result today is a disproportionate level of control in the hands of profit-driven corporate interests. People coming from the mainland think that Hawaii is just another state. They think, oh, it's like Ohio, and Ohio has a state government and the people participate, and things just happen in an organic way. And I submit to you that in Hawaii it does not happen in an organic way. This is a dominated society. It's dominated by these external interests. and we have an opportunity to create change here. Maybe, I don't know, I mean, it hasn't happened before. We haven't had this kind of slate of candidates coming to the fore before. And so I can only encourage you and the community to participate, register and vote, and make that kind of difference. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Alika, where do you see changes needed in Maui County? It's such a broad question. I mean, there's so many things going on. For instance, so I hear rumblings of, how Lowe's is going to be vacating there, and Sports Authority is already out of business. Yeah. So I'm hearing that entire mall is going to get razed to the ground, and they're going to build 9-story workforce housing. Not sustainable housing, not long-term affordable housing, workforce housing for off-islanders to come here so that they have a place that they can work and in the community. That just blows my mind.
Well, that's the first I've heard of that. Definitely, housing is a big need for our islands, but I would say more importantly, truly affordable housing is needed.
Lifetime affordable housing.
And so, I have concerns about the current state of affairs of what they call affordable housing. Mm-hmm. 500,000 is listed as being affordable. So I would have concerns about the young local families that are going to be displaced. They're being confronted like, okay, do I take my family and move to Las Vegas where it'll be cheaper and easier to live and raise a family versus staying here and not even being able to afford a place for me to live at? So the issue is really, how do we address accommodating these needs? I go from community to community, I go door to door in canvassing, and I see many single family homes with 3, 4, 5 different families living in that house.
Yeah, there's 8, 10 cars parked out front.
And so it's not just vacation rentals that people are saying. It's just local families taking care of one another. How do we relieve the stress? Can you only imagine the stress among the family? And then we have a rise in family abuse, domestic violence. We have spouse abuse. We have an increase in drug abuse. So how do we relieve that stress in that family household? Mm-hmm. And one would probably be more realistically is, can there be affordable rentals for local families to, maybe they can afford a down payment. Maybe they can. Majority cannot. What can they afford? Maybe a rental. So you look at the rental programs here, these guys get penalized because they're working 2 jobs. They mm-hmm. make too much money to meet that income requirement, or it's better off being unemployed so you can get a apartment rental.
Okay.
It's kind of
subsidized.
Yeah, so it's kind of flipped over that in that mentality. So to say that we're going to be building 9-story workforce housing without even addressing the need for whether it be affordable rentals or single family housing for the local residents, that's another interesting issue that we got to confront.
To my way of thinking, this is one of the areas where our system suffers because of the persistent level of corruption that does exist. Because even if county council members do have some desire to create change, the magnitude of that corruption, the reasons that developers get off the hook for mm-hmm. not building true affordable housing is through the existing corruption that is well entrenched documented. I'm not making it up. There are people working in this county that are supremely corrupt. And they need to be routed out. They need to be replaced. And our county council is where we have the opportunity to start that process. And I believe that that's part of what these candidates are capable of doing. Because if we get at least 5, hopefully 7, of these candidates who have the mana'o, who have the kuleana in their hearts, if they are as a group running the county council, there's no end to the change that we can create. We can totally change the texture and flow of business here on Maui. So it's not business as usual.
Right.
It's not continued exploitation to the place where we have no clean water, we have no good soil left. The reefs are gone. I've never understood how the tourist industry tolerates the chemical agriculture that's taking place. You can see it all across the nation that GM products are discriminated against. People don't want them. And so Maui, identified as the home of genetically modified experimentation, how is that good for the tourist industry? These forces are at odds with each other, and because of the money that's involved, we're stuck the way that we are. And these county council candidates are a force of change. Thank you both for everything that you've done in the past and all of the things that I know you're going to do in the future. Thank you for watching. Thanks again for all of your support. Check us out on MauiCauses.org. We are community-funded media production. We don't exist without your good graces. There's a place on the website that you can make a donation. We'd appreciate it. Thanks again for viewing. We'll be back again next week. Aloha.
Mahalo.
This program is brought to you as a public service by Maui Causes. Maui Causes is a crowd-funded media production group that provides media production services to a variety of environmental and progressive causes here in Maui County. Visit us on the web at www.mauicauses.org.